Tonight on SportsDesk, Canes football was back at home to face Middle Tennessee State. Were the Canes able to get some momentum back? Our In the Trenches crew will break down last Saturday's game.
Plus, one Miami guard is set to make noise in the rotation this season after battling injuries. Reporter Andrew Klein has the story.
And later on, volleyball bounced back against Notre Dame.
All these stories and a whole lot more.
SportsDesk starts right now.
I'm Ed Reed, and you're watching SportsDesk.
Hi, I'm Jim Kelly, former UM guy. You're watching SportsDesk.
What's up? I'm DJ Williams, and y'all watching SportsDesk.
Hello and welcome to SportsDesk. I'm Wyatt Kopelman.
And I'm Ember Giles. Wyatt, back-to-back losses for Canes football. Mario Cristobal and company are going to have to go back to the drawing board during their bye week.
You're absolutely right, Embrick. The Canes really struggled up I-95, especially after losing to a non-Power 5 school against Middle Tennessee State. Miami returned home to Hard Rock Stadium on Saturday, looking to get back on track against Middle Tennessee State. Let's go to Miami Gardens to take a look at the highlights. Looking ugly in the second quarter just before halftime, Tyler Van Dyke feeds Henry Parrish on the edge right there. He's able to waltz in for a touchdown. Moving into the second half, quick QB shift here. Jake Garcia able to feed Henry Parrish for a 6-yard touchdown. The Canes starting to climb back into this one, but it only gets worse, folks. And if you saw it on Saturday, you may not want to see it again. Keyshawn Smith, however, he converts in a big-time opportunity when the Canes need an answer to start the fourth quarter. He returns a kickoff for a 98-yard touchdown. I mean, look at that gap on the right side of the gridiron. Keyshawn Smith going all the way to the house for those 98 yards. Not a lot of fans left, but certainly a little bit of a show from Keyshawn Smith, as he's done through the first 4 games. Then Jake Garcia, another handoff to Thad Franklin. He's able to bulldoze his way into the end zone. The Canes, however, down by 14 points. Do they have a last answer? Garcia takes a deep shot, and it goes incomplete by a mile. The Hurricanes lose this game to Middle Tennessee State, a major upset, and Middle Tennessee State picks up its first AP Top 25 win all time on the turf of Miami Gardens.
After losing to Middle Tennessee State, the Canes have a lot of adjustments to make to get back into the win column. Let's check in with Cal and Ethan to see what Miami needs to do to avoid to go into a downward spiral. Guys?
Yeah, a lot of adjustments indeed. Welcome to In the Trenches. I'm your host, Ethan Gainey, alongside our analyst, Cal Friedman. And Cal, everything that could have went wrong for the Canes did go wrong for them this past Saturday. They lose 45-31 against a CUSA team. What the heck went wrong?
Oh, man, I'm still asking that question 6 days down the line. A very poor showing from Miami all afternoon in their final non-conference game. In the first half, the issues were already showing. 3 first-half turnovers by the Hurricanes offense. Right after I said they had to protect the rock against Middle Tennessee State, they didn't do that. The first 2 passes thrown by Tyler Van Dyke went for interceptions, including this pick six, which Blue Raiders up by 10. And all of a sudden, you're thinking, oh no, here we go if you're a Hurricanes fan. And right here, Middle Tennessee State would put the dagger in Miami with a 98-yard touchdown after a 4th and goal failed. 263 yards after the catch for Middle Tennessee in this game. You ultimately cannot get away with that against ACC teams, nonetheless CUSA teams.
Right, yeah, let's be frank. It can't happen. And honestly, it seemed like they weren't making adjustments, too. On defense, they kept sticking with man, and they were getting beat down the sideline. And then on offense, they weren't able to punch the ball in. What does this say about the connection between the players and the coaching staff right now at this point in the season?
Yeah, we can only conspicuate right now, but 4 weeks have gone. In all 4 of those weeks, the Hurricanes have not started well. Looking at the first 3 weeks, all 3 of the first 3 weeks, the Hurricanes defense gave up a first drive points. And this last week, they went down 24-3 at home against Middle Tennessee State. They didn't seem ready. And here's what Center Ja'Kai Clark had to say after the loss.
We just weren't as locked in as we should have been pre-game. During the week, I feel as though we had a good week of practice, but pre-game, we were not as locked in as I feel as though we weren't as locked in as we should have been. I mean, I feel as though we realized that they were a good, very talented team. Like I said, I just feel as though we came in kind of lethargic before the game.
Now ask yourself this. This is one of the leaders of this Hurricanes offense already coming out and saying they were lethargic and they weren't ready pre-game. That's all on coaching.
Right, and he is the starting center for the Hurricanes, a guy who's protecting Tyler Van Dyke. Really, when you look at some of the throws he's made this season, he has not looked the same as under Lashley.
Yeah, Tyler Van Dyke, he has not gone through his progressions this season at all. Right here, he's going to try and hit it underneath route to Will Mallory, but Robinson's going to step up and make a phenomenal play. Just reading the quarterback's eyes, that's textbook stuff right now if you're Middle Tennessee State. And later on in this first half, again, Van Dyke gets set on his read. He's going to throw the underneath route to Henry Parrish, which should have separation. Unfortunately, defensive lineman comes in, but if Van Dyke had taken his time, maybe gone through some progressions, he had a touchdown to Romello Brinson. That's a throw that Tyler Van Dyke has made before. He just wasn't going through his progressions in this game, and he hasn't done it all season long.
Right, so Van Dyke comes out, Garcia goes in, throws for over 160 yards, and doesn't throw an interception. So now you're in this awkward spot. Who do you play next week?
Well, in my opinion, I think you still stick with Tyler Van Dyke. He proved it last season, but if he struggles, you go to Jake Garcia, and you stick with Jake Garcia.
All right, well, that's all the time we have left on this week's edition of In the Trenches. Back to you guys at the desk.
Tyler Van Dyke lit social media on fire last week when he said he prefers to play games on the road. Reporter Manny Nacarado checked in with students on campus to see how they felt about that comment. Manny?
Recently, in an interview, quarterback Tyler Van Dyke said he'd rather play in away games because the college atmosphere is better and the student sections are fuller. So here at SportsDesk, we decided to ask the students what's going to put them in the stands.
Honestly, I think it would be more convenient if the student section was moved to a location where the sun isn't directly hitting us.
We have to embrace our Hispanic culture a bit more. I don't think it's represented enough, and I think that's a big part of what UM is.
Definitely, from a Cane perspective, just more W's. Definitely more wins. Frankly, I think that would definitely increase the population of the students.
And winning isn't something the Canes have been doing recently. They just took their second loss to Middle Tennessee State University. But these fans aren't ready to give up on the Hurricanes just yet.
I feel like also it's Cristobal's first couple games with the team. He needs to start getting used to it. It's a whole football culture that's been created before him.
No, I still think, he's still fresh as a coach, and I think we're still pretty early in the season, so there's still hope for the Canes.
From more food options at the stadium to maybe some pregame entertainment, there's a lot of things Canes fans want to see added to Hard Rock. But for now, their next chance to pack the Rock is October 8th against UNC. For UMTV, I'm Manny Nacarado, reporting.
With losses to Texas A&M and Middle Tennessee State, the Canes dropped out of the top 25 rankings. And players and coaches will try to get back in the polls next Saturday when they open ACC play against North Carolina at Hard Rock Stadium. Lead reporter Daryl Barnes is live in studio to share more about the Hurricanes' surprising loss. Daryl, what does this loss to an ACC and a Conference USA team, for that matter, mean for Miami at this point in the season before ACC play?
Yeah, why? Well, you know what it kind of means? You ever been embarrassed by a little kid in a store, and then you start to look at whoever's walking around that little kid and it's thinking, they're not exactly who I thought they were going to be? That's kind of how the Canes are feeling right now. Look at the rankings from Week 3 versus Week 5. They were coming into the season as ACC championship hopefuls. In Week 3, they started off pretty good. Look, they were right there, second out of the top 5 teams in that AP poll. Now, in Week 5, they fell completely out of that after this 2-game losing streak. So the Canes really came in with lofty goals, but now after losing to a completely unranked team, really falling out of these rankings quick and looking like possibly the 6th best team in the ACC.
Well, we'll see for now, but the team got a big wake-up call on Saturday. Lots of questions around the starting quarterback fit between Jake Garcia, Tyler Van Dyke. They flipped at halftime last week. How do you see the adjustment period going next week against North Carolina?
Yeah, well, the big adjustment period is this week in their bye week. What are they going to do in practice? Are they thinking about potentially flipping and flopping? But, take a look at what's happened last week. Cal talked about it earlier. We'll take a look at some of the plays. Cal talked about the interceptions. But look at this. Tyler Van Dyke also overthrew a lot of receivers throughout last game. That's something that, he wasn't doing last year. But then on the flip side, fans started cheering for Jake Garcia to come into the game as early as the second quarter. When he finally came in the third quarter, the fans ate it up. The stadium erupted. Mind you, it was like a quarter empty at this point. But, the thing that fans have to understand and what you have to look at is, can you flip can you start Jake Garcia, someone who hasn't played against a Power 5 opponent? A Power 5 opponent is someone who plays in one of the 5 major conferences. He hasn't started a game against one of those teams, let alone a top 25 team, whereas Tyler Van Dyke, on the other hand, he's one of the top 4 quarterback prospects in the NFL draft this year. That would be a hard left turn for the Canes.
Well, the Canes need to take a sharp turn right now before everything turns for the worst, and they really have to pre-concern over what's going on the other side of the ball as well. So, Daryl, the Hurricanes, they have their test against North Carolina next week, as they had in the last couple of years against the Tar Heels. Thanks for dropping in tonight.
Thank you.
Coming up on Sports Desk, Canes Hoops is gearing up for preseason play. Our Hurricane Hangtime crew gives us the names to watch out for in the backcourt this season. So don't go away.
Kevin, you thinking about retirement?
Of course I've thought about it, but there's all this stuff in the way.
Oh, you're not kidding.
The house, the kids are going to college.
My new car.
Car? You bought a new car?
Oh, hey, you should meet my friend Avo. Avo's a retirement coach. He'll help get you started.
But what does Avo tell you to do?
You don't know? Focus on your future. Your goals can still be met.
But how?
Target your tomorrow. And use the Avo bet.
You sing?
Not really. A is for taking action. Start off with a plan.
You built these letters?
Yep. V is for variety. There's so many ways you can.
I follow you.
Come on. O's for optimize your savings.
Let Avo lead the way.
Visit aceyourretirement.org today.
Nice sign.
Thanks, I made it myself.
Cool.
The Hurricanes women's basketball season is right around the corner, and redshirt junior Kenza Soggs is ready to make her presence felt after a tough past couple of seasons.
After back-to-back seasons of missing time due to injuries, redshirt junior Kenza Sogg is back, and she is ready to help the Hurricanes once again.
It was really hard because it wasn't just last year. It's been like that for 3 years, and it's just been back to back to back, and it just. I wouldn't put it just you can't control it, but it's you wonder what did I do wrong?
Sogg has only played in 29 games in her first 3 years with the Hurricanes, and this season she's looking to reestablish her presence on the court.
It has this feeling, the excitement again, just being back on the court, the pressure in the game and practice, sweating, being tired. That's what I miss the most.
Even though she wasn't able to play, Sogg was still able to maintain her presence as a part of the Hurricanes team.
She's been very supportive of everybody, the newcomers. I was a newcomer last year. We got really close. So she's been great.
Through some of her hardest days as a college athlete, Sogg was always determined to power through the pain.
I could have quit. I could have just, I live thousands miles away from here. But I have a goal, and I'm still here. I'm still working hard every day.
She's a presence that everybody noticed. So everybody's really paying attention to how she's doing and how's rehab going, and we just can't wait to have her back on the court.
I came to college to play basketball mainly. Obviously school is very important to me, but it's mainly to play basketball, and I haven't been playing basketball.
The Hurricanes opened up training camp earlier this week, so keep an eye out for number 0 in the green and orange.
The Canes open up their season with an exhibition game against Barry University on November 2nd, and Sogg will be ready to go when head coach Katie Meyer calls her number. Now let's send it over to our Hurricane Hangtime crew, who is set to break down the rest of the Hurricane guards. Guys?
Welcome back to this week's edition of Hurricane Hang Time. I'm your host, Justin Walkneen, joined by analysts Jake Baum and Juliana Warnock. Now, today's topic of discussion is Miami's guard play, more specifically shooting guards. But starting with the men's squad here, Jake, the team has a strong list of guards returning to the team, along with some new names and faces being added to that room. So tell me, what names intrigue you most, and who do you see emerging as starter at the 2 position?
Well, Justin, the veteran Isaiah Wong will likely take that starter at the 2 position. Nigel Pack, a transfer from Kansas State, amazing three-point shooter, will also probably be at the 1 point guard this season. I would expect a lot of flexibility as they rotate between the two as the season starts.
Definitely some room to experiment there, but Miami's guards have always been known for their physical scoring and offense, along with their disruptive nature in their defense. So tell me, where do you see Miami's guards impacting the game the most this season?
Well, Wong is a stellar athlete and playmaker. However, shooting and ball handling have not always been at the forefront of his game. He says he's been working on this during the offseason. However, I would expect the addition of Nigel Pack to take some of that scoring pressure off of Wong. Overall, I would expect the entire team to take that next step offensively as the 2023 season begins.
Yeah, Canes fans are expecting a lot out of those guys, but now on to the women's side. Juliana, there really is no shortage of skilled and versatile players in that guard room that could really play multiple positions for the team. So tell me, who do you see taking that starting shooting guard spot?
The Canes are solid across the entire board. Even after key departures from last season, the Canes are looking deep, with Jasmine Roberts, Hannah Cavender, and Kenza Zoggs all being key guards for the upcoming season for the Hurricanes.
Definitely a few options there and a tough decision for Coach Katie Meyer. But now looking at the rest of the conference, where do you think Miami's guards need to improve most to really stack up with that upper echelon of the conference, of the ACC?
Yeah, for sure, Justin. The stats from last season are very solid. And you look at the three-point percentages, they are great for the guards. But they're going to have to tighten up that communication on the court to make it back to the ACC championship title game.
Definitely a lot to look forward to with both men's and women's squads. But that does it for this week's edition of Hurricane Hang Time. Back to you guys at the desk.
Canes hoops started preseason practices, volleyball took down Notre Dame, and swimming and diving checked in with the preseason ranking. Let's go over to Niles Nassim on this week's edition of Behind the Post. Niles?
Why? I'm so glad you asked. The Canes got hammered by Middle Tennessee State, and I ain't feeling that great. But nevertheless, I have to forget my feelings of distress and begin. Because once again, you have tuned into the most electrifying segment on TV with me, Niles Nassim, your host with the most. So when you see me on screen, it's time to go behind the post. Well, they lost again to an unranked team who got spanked by James Madison. Yeah, I said that right. I mean, what can I say? Should I show you the highlights if they had any? We can start off with the 3 turnovers Miami had in their 3 opening drives, or the block punt, or the fumbles. But in all fairness, there was a beautiful 39-yard bomb that Jake Garcia threw to Keyshawn Smith, but that's really it. The Canes got mollywopped. They got baked worse than your grandma's delicious and delectable Thanksgiving sweet potato pie with the score of 45-31. It's a bye week, so you should probably take some time and relax. And remember, as always, it's great to be a Cane. But guess who's back and taking it straight to the rack? This week marked the first practices for men's and women's basketball, and they are looking phenomenal. They are both looking to capitalize on 2 fantastic seasons and 2 great runs, especially on the men's side in the NCAA tournament. We can't wait to see what they have in store for us. And hey, UM might be turning into a basketball school. And what a time to be alive for Canes Swim and Dive, who has their first swim meet tomorrow against FIU. So you know what to do. Show up and show out for these Canes, because I have a feeling the result will be insane. Let's start their season with a bang, and the meet starts tomorrow at 11 a.m. And finally, like I said last week, it was an all call for volleyball, and the fans were in the stands on demand, and they packed out night to see the Canes beat Notre Dame 3-2. With a record of 8-5, they will look not to just survive, but thrive as they take on UNC, which is actually happening right now. Tune in after SportsDesk. Well, that's all the time I have for today. You know what to do as always. Be blessed. Don't stress, because you know where to find me right here every Friday on SportsDesk. I'm Niles Nassim.
Up next on SportsDesk, Canes rowing starts their preseason tomorrow, and reporter Brandy Troop got the chance to sit down with one Miami rower. Hear what rower Leanne Lopez had to say and a whole lot more when we return. But first, it is time for some trivia. Saturday's game was the 3rd all-time meeting between Miami and MTSU. But when was the last time these foes met on the gridiron? Hint, it has been a long time. Is it A, 1925, B, 1932, C, 1983, or D, 2001? The answer when we return.
Here you go.
Thank you.
Thank you.
How are you guys feeling tonight?
I'm feeling a little tired, Olivia. I just need a 3-course meal right now, somewhere exotic. I just need to unwind a little bit.
No, yeah, it's been a long week, but happy to be here on SportsDesk and talking about the Canes. Hopefully they can get the momentum going next week.
Always happy to be here. Hope it be a good show.
Anytime they're playing music downstairs, it's loud. I go downstairs, see what they're doing, see what music they're doing, see what they're dancing to. I go play piano downstairs, they come get involved. Leah has a drum set beside it, banging that. Any music, that's what they do.
Welcome back. If you guessed B, you are correct. The Canes and the Blue Raiders last met in 1932 when MTSU defeated Miami 7-0 in South Florida.
Canes soccer and volleyball are off to shaky starts this season, but Michael Muella and Gavin Bisho give us an update on some of the smaller sports on campus in this week's edition of the O Sports Roundup. Michael, Gavin?
Welcome to this week's edition of the O Sports Roundup. I'm Michael Muella.
And I'm Gavin Bisho. Mike, great to see you again. Let's get right into it. Break down Canes soccer and golf for us.
Sure thing, Gav. Now, it hasn't been the dream start on the pitch head coach Sarah Barnes and her squad had hoped for, falling in defeat in each of their 3 opening matches of ACC play, all on the road, but they definitely took some steps in the right direction. Melissa Dagenet had another great showing, giving up just 1 goal against Louisville. Chloe O'Neill also got back on the score sheet, picking up her first goal of the season at Pitt. In fact, it was the opening goal of the match against the Panthers, and Emma Tucker put one in the back of the net against Syracuse on Sunday, giving Miami a much-needed momentum boost heading into Saturday's contest against FSU. Now teeing it up on the course, the women's golf team participated in the Memorial Tournament hosted by Texas A&M last week, placing 7th in the field of 14. Daniela Barrett led the way for the Canes, shooting 1 over. Their next contest will be the Ivy Intercollegiate on October 10th. But Gavin, Canes volleyball recently got back to their winning ways. Tell us all about it.
Thanks, Mike. As you mentioned, the Canes volleyball team got back in the win column after a tight win this past Sunday against Notre Dame. The Canes entered the affair against the Fighting Irish, losing 5 of their last 6 as both teams were seeking their first conference win. The Hurricanes dominated the first 2 sets, winning by a combined score of 50-25, but Notre Dame did not quit. They won the next 2 sets, including a 4th set comeback, going on a 9-2 run, fending off 7 match points. The Hurricanes turned the momentum around in the 5th and deciding set convincingly, as it was supposed to be a big win for Miami heading into a 3-game road trip, which starts tonight in Chapel Hill facing North Carolina. They'll then travel to Raleigh to play NC State on Monday and finish Thursday in Tallahassee taking on rival Florida State before coming home on October 9th to face Duke. Mike, this is a big stretch of games for the Hurricanes, currently sitting in unfamiliar territory unlike last season, going 22-5. Miami is already at that 5-loss mark with only 8 wins this year, and as ACC play gets into full swing, things should get exciting.
Thanks a lot, Gav. That's all the time we have this week. Sending it back to Emrick and Wyatt at the desk.
One Canes runner just broke a 17-year-old school record. Sophomore runner Daphne Lavassis ran a 17:23 5K at the Virginia Invitational last week. Melanie Schultz previously set the record in 2005 with her time of 17:25. Lavassis' 3 teammates Mezio, Batano, and Valera also set top 10 records in the 5K.
Canes rowing has a new head coach for the 2022-2023 season. How has this affected the rowers, and how are the Canes adapting? A lot of change. Brandy Troop sits down with Canes rower Leanne Lopez in this week's edition of Athlete of the Week.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to this week's edition of Athlete of the Week. I'm Brandy Troop, and today I am joined by rower Leanne Lopez. Hey, Leanne.
Hey.
I'm so excited to talk to you. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Excited to talk to you. Listen, I've done some research on you, and I just want you to know, I feel like me and you are good girlfriends. I've already come up with a nickname for you, Lilo.
I love it.
J-Lo, but Lilo. You know, a pizzazz on it. So I want to play a little game with you called Low or No. Gonna name some items, and you let me know if you're feeling them or if they pertain to you. And if not, you say no. If so, you say low. Let's start. Beach waves.
Low.
I love a good beach wave too, girl. What about diving off a diving board?
No, unless it's into like salt water or like super high.
Oh my gosh, I cannot do the heights. What about itsy bitsy teeny weeny bikini?
No, because I'd rather emphasize my catch instead of me.
See, I think I am the catch. So I think I would love an itsy bitsy teeny weeny bikini. The itzier the better. You're so talented on the rowing team. What is it that just keeps you so engaged in your craft?
I really love that we get to row on the water every morning. We get to watch the sunrise. We get covered in salt water, but we get to do it as a team. And I've always really been into sports, and it's a really hard, aggressive sport, but it's so fulfilling.
Yes, and we can tell that you really enjoy what it is that you do. What can we expect from you this season?
I think that we should have a really killer performance at our regatta in the end of October, the head of the Black Warrior.
Love it. Well, we are so excited. We are cheering you on. We can't wait to see what it is that you bring this season. I'm Brittany Troop. That was Leanne Lopez on this week's edition of Athlete of the Week. Back to you.
Still ahead on SportsDesk, one MLB player tied a 61-year-old MLB record in a historic matchup. We'll have more when we return, so stay with us.
There. Can I tell you a cat joke? Just kidding. Why did the girl ask the mushroom to dance? Because he was a fun guy. What do you call a pig that knows karate? Pork chop. Why was the basketball court all wet? Why? Because the players kept dribbling all over it. Can I tell you another one? So how does a tissue dance? Put a little boogie on it. What's Beethoven's favorite fruit? Banana. What is a boxer's favorite drink? Fruit punch.
Over the past week, Major League Baseball has seen some historic moments, two of which featured some of the game's best and most premier hitters putting their skills on display on this week's edition of Play of the Day.
And Wyatt, that's totally right. We're going to have a double feature of Play of the Day here. But first, let's start off looking at Albert Pujols, as he is going to blast one into left field. He's going to look at that one fly as it goes all the way into left field as a 3-run shot. Is the 700th home run for the oldest player in the MLB. Quite impressive. One of the few players to ever hit 700 home runs in a season. Albert Pujols, that's a pretty impressive play of the day there, Wyatt.
Emmerich, I'm going to say 61 for 61. The better play of the day is Aaron Judge joining company of Roger Maris. There you see him there standing at 6'7" at the Rogers Center all the way across the border. He's set for a crucial situation here. The Yankees and the Blue Jays tied at 3. Not for long. Forget about it. Judge crushes it deep and just short of a memento for some lucky fans. There you see Mama Judge and Roger Maris Jr. A 2-run blast to put the Yankees head 5-3, and that ties the American League record. Emmerich, I think I win this battle.
Well, I guess the judge has the verdict, Wyatt. And in football, kickers and punters are usually underappreciated. And last Sunday in Miami, we saw one of the craziest punts in NFL history. We'll take you out to Hard Rock Stadium for more. Dolphins taking on the Bills as the Dolphins punter is going to kick that one. It's going to go off the butt of one of his teammates out the back of the end zone, as that is just going to be the start of the crazy here in this kicker here. And look at that. It's going to go all the way back out to the end of the end zone. Now let's take a look at this. And now that is former Miami quarterback Ken Dorsey getting upset. He was not happy about that. And again, now another example here. Tommy Rees, the offensive coordinator for Notre Dame, is also not so happy. Some angry guys in the football world there today.
Well, I think one thing is clear, that Drew Pine, the starting Notre Dame quarterback, was hearing it from his OC, Tommy Rees, about how he messed up the lunch order. That's what I'm guessing he is on that phone, Emberg.
No, yeah, well, football tends to bring out a lot of emotion in players and coaches. It's kind of why we love the game.
Well, it's the nature of the game, nature of competition. But that's all we have for this week's edition of Sports Desk. Until next week, thank you for tuning in and stay safe through the storm.
Have a great night.